Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Mayor's Table. With me today is our friend David Sypher. He is the Community Works Director for the City of Farmington. We're going to be presenting on all the different road projects, water, wastewater projects that are going to be happening here in the community this spring into the summer. A lot of really important information so you can plan your daily commute. You know what's going on where those orange barrels are laid, and you know where your public tax dollars are being put to work. Stay tuned. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Mayor's Table. With me today in a special edition is our friend, the Community Works Director, David Sypher. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Mr. Duckett. I appreciate being here.
Well, we had a very nice presentation provided by Mark Hathcock the other night at a city council meeting, kind of breaking down all the major public works, capital projects we have going on in the city. There's a lot of them. I thought it was really important to kind of bring this information to the forefront today and let the community know via the Mayor's Table what's going on directly from the mouth of its director.
Well, and I really appreciate that because the team has been working very, very hard in getting product out the door. And that presentation was a long list of things that's going on, but it was just the ones $1 million and more, and so the guys are having to work really hard to try to keep that managed. That's a lot of project to manage.
It is, and it's important, I think, for folks to understand where their money is going. Where the tax dollars go, and a lot of these are funded through multiple means. It could be local tax dollars, it could be federal grants, state grants, but you can see it at work all the time. Yeah. The other part of it too is our water and wastewater, water line replacements. I mean, those are coming out of your water utility rates. So right. When you see these things happening, this is what they are. And understand that not everything is sexy and not everything is convenient, but having good roads, having good water lines, making sure that your sewage is getting where it needs to go and not backing up another place. I mean, these are all really important components of what this kind of the infrastructure looks like here for our community.
Right.
So, well, I'm glad you came on. Let's just jump into it.
Okay.
The biggest one that we see every single day, at least I do, is the Pinion Hills Bridge extension.
Oh, isn't that a marvelous? That's a generational project, as we've talked about before. And I've never seen a project go quite so smooth. And I've been in the industry now for 30 plus years. And that particular project we thought was going to be a go in 2016. It started back in the 90s. And here we are today. We received a grant for $40 million plus. Before that, we had invested about $4 million in prep and acquisition of land and such. And now here we are. This project is on schedule, on budget, and will be completed by February of 2026.
Yeah, we're within a year of it being completed. And just to see how quickly that intersection all of a sudden transformed over the last couple months. And then if you get to drive down and look and see, the first bridge is complete, the second bridge is well on its way. Very exciting. And, there's the other part of it too. We're waiting for the county. The county's part will be coming hopefully sooner than later. But I mean, all those things are being worked out right now.
Right.
But the part that the city plays runs directly from East Main Street down across the Animas River and connects into Southside River Road.
Right. County Road 3000.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's the part that we have. The other part of it that would then go up the hill is a part of San Juan County's project. Obviously, we want to see that whole thing come to fruition, giving us another, kind of thoroughfare across the community, across the county. I think is going to provide a lot of benefits, certainly for development and opportunities, for quality of life for people who live up on Crouch Mesa.
Yeah, how awesome is that cutoff going to be? And really, I say cutoff, but it's also when you're around Christmas time down on Main Street in that area, how nice is that going to be to have an alternate access up to the Mesa and over the hill to Bloomfield and Albuquerque and wherever you need to go.
I was thinking the other day, I live on that north side of town, and thinking about being able to take that across the river, take Southside River Road and get access to, there's new restaurants and everything that are on the south side of town, and you can kind of take this nice, easy shortcut, so to speak, to get over to that. So I think it just opens up a lot of economic opportunities, and is going to, kind of make this big small city, make it even smaller, because we'll be more connected in that way. But
it's one of the connectivity things that really, when I came to work here, when I interviewed, the first thing they were telling me about was Pinion Hills. I've been here over 12 years now, and it's really cool. I'm on my way out the door to retirement to see that this is getting done.
We don't talk about David Sypher retiring. Well, good. So that is, it's on budget, it's on schedule. February 2026 is the planned date for opening there.
Yes.
We'll start seeing the asphalt being laid now that we're getting into the warmer part.
They're starting now.
Yes. Okay, so that's great news.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, another big one that's kind of been around. If you remember, maybe your and I's first interactions together when I was elected as a city councilor for District 4 was a conversation about paving Hood Mesa Trail.
Right.
And so the second one on our list today is actually the cold mill and drainage project plan for Hood Mesa Trail. Talk a little bit about what our cold mill strategy is and what that is exactly.
Yes. About 6 years ago, we did an analysis on the feasibility of eliminating our gravel roads. Graders are very expensive. Time to maintain them when you're grading quarterly basis and you're putting down chemicals. People don't like the chemicals for the car, and I don't blame them, but it's better than the alternative. So we wanted to find a program, find a way, get a solution, find a solution that would save us money, save us pain, and save some tax dollars for folks. And so we presented a plan to council, and we have such an awesome council. It was adopted, and we have a 20-year plan to complete getting rid of our gravel and dirt streets, and with a cold mill product, which was a waste byproduct of milling when we do maintenance or resurfacing on our roads. So it's just a win-win-win-win situation.
Sure.
We've made it, we're about 2 years ahead of schedule, and so in those 6 years, we're about 8 years along on our program. And what we're doing first, and that was all laid out in the plan, is that we would do the areas that had the drainage issues and the right-of-way issues already resolved. And so those that have drainage and right-of-way problems are still yet to do. But we did the ones that were ready to go sooner, and that just makes sense.
No, it does. Get the low-hanging fruit knocked out. Hood Mesa Trail was not necessarily the least complicated of those, but it is one I think that has a number of houses all along it, and obviously we've been talking about it for quite a while about potentially doing that. So we'll see a significant portion of that road getting completed, and that looks like we've already started that project. Well,
we've started. The drainage is almost completed. We have one more pipe to do in about 2 weeks. The whole project is about a $300,000 job, which is, as you know, when you're going from, if you start at the top, when you're talking about starting at Vista Grande Drive to Cocopelli, that's a long stretch of road, and when you can get that done for $300,000 and get the good base for asphalt there, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So we're really pleased with that, and we believe that we're grateful too to the public, because they worked really well with us on this one and got all the right of way and all the drainage and all the easements, all that. They worked with us in getting that done, and they worked as a community, and it was a lot of hard work. So we appreciate what they did.
Years of hard work.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, good. So the paving part of it looks like it's going to be start in May and then end in July?
Yes, in July of 25 it should be done.
Okay.
So it's this summer.
All right. Another long-term project that was broken up into phases, and that was our work on Foothills.
Yes, Foothills was broken into phases all the way from Pinion Hills Boulevard all the way up. And if you count that very first phase they did before I arrived 12 years ago, they had just finished that first phase, and then we started on phase 2, and And now we're doing phase 3. So phase 3 will go from Mesa de Oso to Shiva.
Yep. Shiva Court.
Yep.
Yep.
And so that's a $3.3 million project, and that's being advertised for bid now.
Okay. So we're looking rebidding it. It's out for bid, but the hope is to start and complete that project this summer and fall, correct?
Yes, and it hopefully will be completed in October this fall.
Okay. Does that include an additional roundabout?
It does at Lakewood.
At Lakewood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we put those in. A lot of people have asked about the roundabouts on foothills. A lot of that was to address the concerns of speeding in that shotgun kind of barrel stretch where it's just straight downhill. Mm-hmm. And I think it's helped, in my opinion, as somebody who's taken a lot of those phone calls over the years. I've seen a significant reduction of people complaining about the amount of speeding on that road. Does it still happen? Yes. Do I hear it at night? I sure do. But I think people need to understand that's what that was. That's a tool and toolbox to help keep people aware and driving the speed limit.
It really helped, and it also saved us some tax dollars for the future because the traffic volumes that are there are just right in the right range and will be for the next 10, 15 years where it takes the place of a signal, and it's more efficient and faster moving for traffic. It's better. When I say faster, I mean it's more expedient.
Yeah, right.
It's not. It does help to calm traffic as well.
Sure. Well, and we're going to have developments too further north on foothills where we have the Juniper Basin Bike Park, which they'll be breaking ground on this year. So
yes.
there will be some additional traffic on that roadway. So improving it, we're making it wider. We're putting bike lanes on it. We've got the drainage set up on it, and then we're going to have the additional roundabout in this phase. And I think our ultimate goal is to continue that road development all the way up, to the end of it. But at this point, phase 3, I think, is the last of the phases that we currently have planned.
That is
right?
correct. It was planned and designed in the original scheme. But you're right. I think as the city grows, that's definitely one of the next phases.
Yeah. I do like the multi-use path that we have along that because I see people using it all the time, walking their dogs, riding their bikes, whatever the case may be. But it just adds another component to bring people outside.
Yeah, and the kids even like to use it for their horses.
Yeah.
And I think and that's what it was designed for. It was designed with that in mind.
Just not your motorbikes. I do ask people, if you're using that multi-use path, do not put your motorbikes on that multi-use path. That's not what it's there for.
Right. With this, we'll have 2 11-foot lanes and bike lanes on the asphalt portion of the road. The multi-use path is not for that. It's for the pedestrians and like I said, the horses and that type of thing.
Good. It's good. It's a good project. West Main Street, Broadway resurfacing. This is going to go from Murray to Lake Street. I know that's very, very welcome by the people who are using that area for their daily commutes.
It is, and I would point out that that's a $2.3 million project that is by grant. So that is that's nice, and I would commend the staff as well. About 7 or 8 of these projects that we're talking about today are full grants, and that is a lot of extra work on the staff, and so that just kind of shows me that they're out looking for the money for the public so that the local people are not having to brunt that burden.
Yeah, I get it. A lot of folks will say, well, David, that's still our tax dollars. I mean, you're just bringing, we're bringing your federal tax dollars back home to where we're putting it into use for important projects like this. I mean, and that is something I have really been impressed with, is the amount of diligence that we pay as a city organization. And certainly I'm grateful that we have the people and the resources and knowledge to go out and find these grants. It's not easy. And if you're in small town New Mexico, typical small town New Mexico, you don't have the capabilities to go out and find the type of money that we're able to find. I mean, I think there's $65 million of federal grants that we've brought home over the past few years.
Right. I think
pretty extensive.
The projects that we're talking about today by themselves are close to $70 million just in the projects that are live and operating now.
Right.
So
Well, in the funding component, the local funding component, there's a portion of your gross receipts tax, the portion that you pay at the register, that is directly going to streets.
That's true.
Yeah, so your budget depends a lot on what the local economy is doing right now.
Right.
Feel very fortunate that because of the amount of new construction and things that are happening in the city, we're in a really good gross receipts tax space. I mean, we're in a really good place.
Yeah, things have really been happening well for us.
And that helps ensure that we can get a lot of these projects taken care of.
Yes, absolutely.
So that, just people to know, that again, that's a $2.3 million. That's West Main Street Broadway resurfacing. The tentative start date, it may have, was the end of March. We're somewhere in that range right now. So this is coming out in April. We're April 1st today, but it's going to be airing actually maybe this Friday.
Wow.
On the 4th. All right. The producer told me it's the 4th, so that's good. Next one, San Juan Boulevard Phase 2 resurfacing. This is Sullivan to East Main Street on San Juan Boulevard. That is estimated at a $1.1 million project.
Yes.
And that will be starting later this summer.
And again, it's all grant.
Okay. We're going to be doing mill and inlay, the entire width of the street, remove and replace concrete slabs that are cracked at East Main Street area. So doing some good rehab there.
Right.
30th Street. This is my favorite one.
Yeah, I bet you it's your favorite. It's one of my favorites too, in that we've been working really hard up on 30th Avenue. It's kind of one of our main water feed backbones, and as such, nobody wants us to waste tax dollars by putting in brand new streets and then tearing them up again.
No.
For putting in a water line.
We don't.
So, no, we don't. We don't have that kind of extra money. You're hearing these numbers of $3.3 million, $2.3 million, $1.2 million, $1.7 million. You're hearing all these numbers, and can you imagine spending that kind of money on your surfacing and then tearing it back up and putting the water line in?
Yeah.
So we so appreciate everybody's patience with us, because we are trying very, very hard to get that. It's not just, it's a backbone line. It's one of our main transmissions. It's a 16-inch line that runs from Main Street all the way up 30th, all the way to Butler, and all the way down to Sunset, and all the way over. So it's our main backbone.
We're talking miles.
And so we needed to get that done to facilitate future growth and to get rid of some old pipe that really needs to be replaced. And so that's what we've been doing. So we've got sections on and off again all through there, but now to kind of get back to what you were talking about, when will that terrible mess be cleaned up?
Sure.
We're doing a total reconstruction on the section from Marquette to Hutton. Last year we got the intersection of College done up to Marquette, and now we're going Marquette to Hutton. It's going to be about $1 million project, and that one will be done August 2025. Then we're also going to do a short section, which will also be done in August 25. One of those will be done at the preceding the other, of course. And then the final piece will be done. When I say final piece, let's see, that one will be
Fairview, and then Fairview to Farmington.
Yes, that the Fairview to Farmington will be the final piece in 2026,
right.
The spring of 2026. So from there till Butler, that's going to be done after we get the water line in there. So I would say by 2027, 2028, we'll have the entire 30th Street done.
But in the meantime, up in that area close to Hutton, Fairview, Farmington, there's going to be a lot of road work. People are going to have to make adjustments to the daily commute to move through there, and we'll try and keep as much of that out of the way of impacting the school traffic.
Absolutely. We have, in fact, that's why it's been so slow. If you want me to be just real blunt with you, is we've tried to, with all those schools up and down College Avenue, we've tried to keep our work during the summer, and it's basically slowed things down, but we had to, in consideration of all that traffic. That is if you really want to see where the most traffic is in Farmington go at 8 o'clock up and down College.
I know.
Yeah.
Having come through the phase of my life where I had kids who were attending schools on that road and battling through that, and talking to other parents, unfortunately, I hate to use that term, it is what it is, but you've got all these schools that built on this one road.
Right.
So anytime that schools let in or let out, you're going to have that type of congestion. It is what it is. Can we expand the roadways there? Is there other opportunities to find better methods of getting in and out? It would take
Sure.
partnerships and investments from the schools, from the city. I mean, there's a lot of things we could do, but patience is a virtue, and I know that's one. Unfortunately, it seems that we've lost a lot of, especially over the last 5 years. I have less patience when I'm on the road now. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's something in the air that's causing this aggro reaction to every little thing that goes on the roadway, but it's certainly something I know I need to work on. I ask others to also work on that and just be understanding that, certainly when it comes to not just the school component of it, but these types of big projects. These are important projects for the city, and it's for each and every person who lives here, works here, owns a business here, visits here. I mean, these are big projects. So
yes.
They're underground. Water lines don't run above ground, right? So we've got to find the methods and try and do the right planning. And that's, I think, the question. Our accountability to the planning process to ensure that we are mitigating as much as we can the impacts to the people who live in those neighborhoods and use those streets. David, you're an individual that I have had a lot of experience with, somebody that you've worked with me with constituent issues for the last 12 years that we've been here together. I believe you hold your team accountable, and I think you guys are trying to do the best that you can in these situations. And so I will take the phone calls and I will take the heat because I know it's a project that we need to get done. And unfortunately, this one's just a little bit more complicated than just your typical curb cut and trying to replace a water line.
Yeah, and anytime you have deep lines, it's another complicating factor. So having the schools right there and having the depth of the line and the size of the line, it's all been worked together to cause a frustrating situation
Sure.
at times. And so we're glad to be getting out of that intersection and to have it wrapped up this summer at that congested area.
Yeah. Well, so people know, I mean, there's information that we put on the city's website that lists out all the different road projects that we're doing, so people can get that information. It's right on I think it's the front page of the city's website, projects, right. And you click on the orange cone and it takes you to it, but there's an interactive map. You can drill down to your streets. It tells you what kind of project here's when it starts, here's when it's supposed to end.
Right.
All that information is made available. But share the information with your friends and family. Just be aware of it. Make plans to work around it as best you can. And that's what we have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do appreciate the public because 98% of them everyone is very, very considerate and kind and patient.
Sure.
But we all have bad days, right, Mr. Mayor?
We do. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
No?
And so I understand, and I appreciate it when people call me, and I try to give them a little more insight of what's happening behind the scenes. And like I said, most people, once they understand the whole story, they're much more.
I appreciate phone calls too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's easy to talk with folks.
Yep.
I like to talk to people.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's 30th Street.
Right. We also have a couple other projects. We have a $1.7 million grant on Wildflower. There's actually two projects on Wildflower that together will be close to $2.4 million that we're applying for, and we're encouraged that we'll be getting that grant too. So just a lot. Now what we've just talked about is just, again, the ones that are projects over $1 million, and so you're going to see a lot of other barrels out there, orange barrels, and I'd very much encourage people to do what you said. Let's look at it and see and be aware.
Yeah. Well, let's just answer this question. Why doesn't the city do more overnight road construction work?
Okay.
And there may be a time, because we know there's a Main Street project coming up here in the not so distant future that may require that type of consideration.
That's exactly right. It is a tool in the tool bag. It is something that we do use, but it's not as productive and it's not as safe.
Yeah.
And so you do that where you can. Depends on what the average daily traffic or nightly traffic in that case would be. And yes, we do utilize that tool.
It's more expensive.
When we need to. It is more expensive on top of it.
Yeah.
It's slower, more expensive, and
an East Main Street project, that makes sense to me. The other component of it too is what exactly is the area around the construction area look like? If it's housing and you're doing night construction, that doesn't bode well for people trying to sleep.
It doesn't.
But if on an East Main Street project, I think we'll see that come into play here in the next year or so.
And there is, when you're on the shoulder seasons too, it's prohibitive because of the temperatures.
Yeah.
You need
50
degrees plus to pave.
Good point.
Yeah.
Okay. Good information on that. You had another one listed on here, and that's Pinion Hills Boulevard. There's going to be an overlay from college to English.
Yes, that is such a well-used boulevard that we have that we just have to continually take sections of it and redo it. And this time let's see, what do we have here from college to English? And so that part is in need of maintenance. We try to do things before they go into a rebuild stage because, again, what we've explained before is that it's a cost 7 times the amount, up to 7 times the amount if you let something go to a reconstruct instead of a maintenance level.
Right.
So we try to stay on it so that the worst sections we keep before they turn into a reconstruction phase.
Sure. Well, I think that's one of the things that I have learned, being in an elected position from you, is just the importance of that, the lifeline and the lifespan of a piece of asphalt, and the dollar, increments and the increases as that life fades off, and at what points are the most efficient points to go in and address it, so that it doesn't become a much more expensive project down the road. And I know we grade our streets, and we utilize a lot of technology to help grade our streets and analyze the asphalt wear and tear on it. And it's interesting. You mentioned the Pinion Hills. I was driving it just today, looking at the roadway, because that's what I do now. And I thought, man, it wasn't too long ago that we just did this, but already I made the comment to the city manager. I said, man, it's just asphalt. Is the quality of asphalt just fallen off, or is it simply because in our world and where we live, geographically speaking, because we have such varied temperatures, it drops 20 to 30 degrees every night, right? I mean, it's this big time back and forth.
It does.
Is it simply that component that is such a beatdown on our asphalt?
High desert has that effect, yes.
Yeah.
And so that's what we get to deal with. And those huge temperature swings makes a big difference.
David, what do you think about why New Mexico's roads are so much worse than every other state that surrounds us?
Well, it has to do with stormwater, actually. We don't have a stormwater utility, which we hope now we will have.
And what do you mean by that? What's the impact to the roads because of that?
Well, when you have the freeze-thaw and lack of drainage and lack of design for where your roadways are, it tears your roads up.
Right.
It's brutal.
But now
what we have done,
potentially in there, we could have money separate that would be just for stormwater.
Yes.
Because what's happening is you're taking road funds, putting it towards stormwater projects.
That's correct. So throughout 47 other states who recognize stormwater as a utility, here in New Mexico, we have not recognized it. And so people are having to take their precious asphalt funds, and instead of putting it into asphalt in the timely manner, they're having to put it into drainage, because it doesn't matter that, when you have monsoon, you've got to deal with it, right? And so if you don't have those facilities in place, it's going to destroy your asphalt.
Well, you were integral in the component of building all the stormwater infrastructure that we've seen, certainly in the northern part of the city, to the degree that, I don't know, I mean, I go out and I chase the rain now to go make sure that all the system is working correctly, and it amazingly is working really, really well. Where there was none before, now there's $13 million of it now, which, by the way, today, if we tried to build that $13 million worth of infrastructure, we're talking north of $20 million.
Oh, at least.
I'm sure. I mean, just looking at the size of the retention dam by Piedra Vista High School, I mean, that was a big project.
It was.
And then to dig underneath everything we did off of Villa View and Foothills, that's a lot of work.
It really is.
But I think it's paid off, and it's going to continue to do so.
We really were able to take the main issues and get them addressed. That really occurred, kind of the bookmark, if you will, occurred in the 2010 and 2013 storms. They were incredible records.
Yeah.
And in some parts of the city, they got a 500-year storm.
Flooded my house.
And it was crazy. And so we were able to take the peak off of most all of the critical areas. Not to say that it's totally done, but it's manageable now.
Yeah, no doubt. Good feedback on that. Water, wastewater, really important components. People have seen all the curb cuts, goes out into the asphalt cuts, and you may have seen situations there where we've laid new paving and then we've cut it, and I get it.
Sometimes if you have a sewer failure, you got to address it.
That's right.
And even though you had planned to wait 10 years until you're going to recycle the paving in that area, you got to take care of the sewer. And so that happens.
Yeah. Well, we've got a big eye hydrant retrofit project that's a almost $1.3 million project. And that's to address our fire hydrants that are in need of replacement. And
well, it's even more than that. We're entering into the smart everything age, right?
Okay.
And so what this does is it gives us our flow, our pressure, our temperature, and even signals when we've had water hammer, where maybe somebody went out and shut a valve too fast, and the amount of shock wave that can cause, it can ruin your equipment, ruin your treatment plant, ruin your pumps, and tear apart your line. So it's a serious thing, and it's neat to be able to have all that all pre-reported to you, because you've got a network throughout the city. And so we've had it's like 70, close to 70 hydrants that are going to be smart hydrants, and they're going to report that data and help us model our water system and be more efficient and spend our money smarter.
Yeah, I like smart.
Yep.
We're doing a federal project for lead and copper line inventory. That's been ongoing. That was a very expensive project.
It was, and we originally thought that was going to be an $11 million project. We did a lot of things in-house to cut that. We're down to $4.7 million, but that doesn't that doesn't make me happy either. I didn't want to spend that much money, but it was a federal unfunded mandate.
Yep.
And we did get a 30% grant on that. So that 4.7, 30% of it is covered.
How many lead lines have you found at Farmington?
0.
Thank you. So we do the inventory. The good news is there are 0 lead lines that have been found.
That is right.
In the city.
And we're 80% done with the project.
So that's good results, right. And it's good for people to know as well that there are no lead lines.
But one of the things we did that will help people know, and they can call us and we're happy to share all that information, is one of the things is that we also identified all the galvanized lines. Well, what does that matter? Well, we have you have the opportunity as a property owner that those galvanized lines aren't going to last any more than 50 years, and probably more like 30 or 40 years. And if you've got a galvanized line, it's time to plan for it, because from the meter to your house is your line. Right. And so it goes bad. We try to let people know that, hey, be aware that this is galvanized. And so if you're wondering if you have a galvanized line or not, we know now because we've taken the inventory.
Oh, that's good to know.
And so most people's copper lines can last 100 years, so not usually a big worry at all. But galvanized lines, they choke up, they fill up with tuberculosis. Yeah. I guess is what
I've seen those cut lines, and it's like, wow.
Yeah. How are they getting any water at all?
Yeah. How you get any water at all?
Then they start springing leaks, and it's a mess. So, that database is open to the public too. So give us a call, and we can let you know if you think you might have a galvanized line.
Okay.
We're happy to share that information.
Thank you, David.
So that inventory was good for more than just lead, is what I'm saying.
We talked about the 30th Street Waterline Replacement Project, so we can cross that one off. We do have a couple of different projects going on with our water treatment plants. So our oldest water treatment plant, which is over on Orchard in Ute, that one is getting a big upgrade.
Yeah, a huge upgrade. We priced out a new treatment plant at $120 million, but we felt like if we went ahead and went through the pain of a remodel rather than a brand new building, we could save quite a bit. And turns out we did. We're getting everything we need for $30 million. That was about a 60% grant overall that we got on that. So that was a great reduction to the cost to our local citizens.
Why did we need that?
We needed it for several reasons. Our filters had lived their lives, which is the main backbone. We had several of our valves that had lived their lives that needed to be replaced. We had some of our chlorine disinfection issues. We actually are going to build, as a phase 2, a whole new chemical building. And on the original bid, we took it out because they wanted another $20 million, and we've made some changes so that we'll be able to do that for closer to $5 million. So that will be phase 2 of treatment plant 1 upgrades. But we've got a whole list of different upgrades that we did throughout different basins. We're going to be putting in also some floating covers to eliminate algae growth and sunlight from the algae growth. And like I said, all the new valves and
expanding capacity
up to 20 million. After you run a plant for years and years, even though the original design was 20 million, we were getting closer to 15, 16 million gallons a day out of that plant just because it was just wore out.
Right.
So we also did a backwash basin as well, so we could take our sediments and separate those, and that gives us better conservation on our water.
Interesting. This water plant was built in the 1950s.
I think that's right.
And then this one is done better than the one that was built in the 80s, and that's water treatment plant 2.
Right.
That sits behind Target, and that one's going to be coming up also for hopefully some improvements.
So we've been doing some improvements on it, and we think that we can get another 10 years out of that, and that's our plan. We get 10 more years out of that, then we may need to be looking at purchasing some other land to put a new plant in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's still under study.
Well, you're somebody that I appreciate. You kind of have that long view of things, and the Lake Farmington Dam Raise feasibility study, and then what you just mentioned about water treatment plant 2, just kind of looking out what is the city going to need in the future, and the dam raise study is a really key component to that, I believe.
I think so too, and we really got some great news the other day that I really haven't shared with anybody yet, but breaking news right here.
Are you sure?
On Mayor Table.
Can we really do that here? Have you ran this by the city manager?
This is some great news, and this is that we thought that if we could get a 25-foot dam raise, that we could increase by 73% our volumes. And after the preliminary study, they're saying it's going to be more like 100% increase. Wow. because of the they did a more detailed survey.
Yeah.
And so they've got better data to drive it.
Wow.
And so boy, isn't that great news?
That is great news. Now that the feasibility study is not going to be completed until next year.
That is correct.
So there's still a lot of work to be done, but I mean, that's interesting. Just looking at the red line on the map that I'm looking at that shows what 25 feet would look like, that we could get 100% out of that, which give us some perspective of what that means, 100% improvement on.
Oh, well, that tells us right now, if we entered into a serious drought, we would be pretty well covered for that full year. Even with no replenishment of the water, we're into 120 days of storage there which is
right
just
now.
Right now.
Yeah.
So that is fantastic. So now you're going to double that.
240 days.
Yes. So that what that means is we've got capacity to grow, and our grandchildren can stay here.
Yeah.
Because the only water available in this high desert with our limited aquifer is the surface water, the Animas River.
Right.
And that being the case, we need to be able to store it during the heavy runoff, and then being able to use it during the dry months.
Well, Lake Farmington's one of my favorite places. It's been I think a tremendous, just seeing its development over the years. It's become a real asset, not just as a reservoir that stores our water, but for recreation purposes as well. And obviously, raising the size of the dam is going to change the dynamics of what recreation looks out there currently.
Right.
But it's in a positive way in the long term. I mean, what we're going to get out of that, another 120 days of water. That's a lot of water.
That's without replenishment.
Yeah.
Without replenishment. So it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing bit of information, and really what I was also excited about is, okay, so guys, you're 60% through this review, and what are the red flags? What says that we maybe couldn't have a 25-foot dam raise? They said there is none.
Wow.
So that was another bit of great news that we got out of our 60% report.
Well, to the individuals who were around at the time that the original, I think it was Beeline Reservoir, maybe they called it.
Yes, that's right.
Seems to stick there.
That's right.
Very, very fortunate that they had the forethought to say, okay, this is important for the long haul. We got to do this. And now we're at that point saying, okay, no, this is a generational project. We'll see what those cost considerations look like. This is going to be tens of millions, 100 million. I mean, we're talking
probably close to 100 million, and it's not going to be something that our local people can fund. It's going to be state and federal government for the future. But if we didn't have a study, there's no way we could ask for it. There's no way we could apply for the grants. There's no way we could lobby for those improvements.
Nope. And they know water is precious. And so if we have the plan and we've got it all ready to go, it makes it a whole lot easier for them to go, you know what, yes. Because part of the thing that many folks don't know, and we've talked about it on this show in the past, is how much of the water that is in Lake Farmington is actually contracted out. We provide water to a lot of entities.
It's a regional thing, and for that purpose, we actually, this will be 100% funded except for just a small match that we're having to put into this. But we have our local San Juan Water Commission that has funded $2.5 million of this study, and we also have another grant where it's a 50% funding. So it's going to be a very small amount that we had to spend out of our budget.
But it's going to do a lot of good. So that's what we love about it. That's a big one. That's really big one. A lot of other things going on, David. We don't need to get into a whole lot more. We've got the La Plata waterline project. That's another big project that's going to start, looks like next year.
Right.
9,600 feet of 6-inch and 8-inch cast iron pipe will be going out of there and replaced with 12-inch PVC. So people need to be aware of that. We've got a wastewater collection system, repair replacement program, polyline replacement program. Just a lot of things that you are responsible for. Sir, you and your team, and we call it Community Works, but it was really your department is planning and zoning and community works and public works and building and permitting and a lot of different things going on in your neck of the woods. So any projects we missed on here that you want to make sure you comment on?
Well, I wanted to just, this is a simple one, but one of my personal pet projects, and that is our geometry of our town is long and spread out.
Yep.
And as such, when you have a water treatment plant clear at one end and you have to meet the health standard for disinfection, you have to add extra chlorine disinfection to make it go from one end to the other and meet the requirement, so people are protected.
So when it comes out of the faucet, it meets the requirement.
Correct. So we're going to be putting in 3 booster stations so we can overall lower the amount of chlorine in the water. During my college education, it became something that really interested me, that the negative compounds that too much chlorine can cause as it combines with the organics is really not good.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I really wanted to accomplish ever since I've been here, is I wanted to get chlorine booster stations in, 3 of them spread out through town, so everybody throughout town can lower the chlorine residual. So they're protected by the chlorine, but don't have too much. It's just like chocolate cake. You eat too much, it's not good for you.
Right.
But you have the right amount, and it makes life enjoyable. So that's really one of my pet projects, to greatly reduce the amount of chlorine overall at some portions, so it's even distribution throughout the entire town. And that project's going to be about a $1.8 million project. But again, we have a 50% grant on that, so that's pretty nice.
I'm all about trying to reduce chemicals in our water. There's a lot of conversations out there about other things that are in our water that people are interested in. I think Utah's done something interesting the other day, and they've cut fluoride from their water systems, which I know you're very passionate about and have some very strong opinions on. But we're seeing a lot of things shift, I think, in the way people are perceiving things, and kind of maybe even the health information that's being shared with us about some of the stuff that we've done traditionally. And so you got to go back, you got to challenge the process and see if it makes sense nowadays or not. But lowering chlorine, I can tell you, I've got a brother-in-law who's got a pool, and he's like, it's great. I put water in the pool, and I don't have to put chlorine in there for a while, because there's plenty of chlorine in the water. But I drink the tap water. The tap water's safe to drink, right, David?
Absolutely. It's the best water in the world.
Best water in the world.
I just took a trip this last fall to the Philippines and Indonesia, and it just once again made me so grateful for our water quality rules and laws that we have in this great country. And it isn't perfect. People are right. It isn't perfect, but
sure.
But man, it's such light years ahead of the rest of the world. Even England. I went to England the year before, and even England, it's much better than England's system. So I'm proud and happy, and I'm proud to be a part of being able to deliver that to our citizens.
Amen. And if you're a high school kid out there looking for a career, we need more people like David Sypher and his team who have that kind of passion and have the go out and get the education and know-how in order to continue to facilitate clean water.
Right. And
I mean, even wastewater, what we do with wastewater is...
that's another exciting one we didn't talk about.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that one. Yeah. But the work you've done over this past 12 years in improving our wastewater system and the way we process it and the way it goes back into the river. I mean, the water we're putting back in the river is cleaner than the water we're taking from the river.
Right.
So we need people who can do your job, and I continue to proliferate that. I know it doesn't sound fun, or it is fun. I mean, getting involved on a daily basis with producing clean water or electricity or waste, it's a very intricate and important component of everyday life in America. Yeah. Just like you said. I mean, I lived in Texas for a while. You couldn't drink the water out of the tap in Texas.
Right.
You had to go buy RO water in order to drink the water. And it's great to be in a place where we're able to clean the water from the river. Mm-hmm. I get those comments, do you guys know that birds poop in the lake? Yes, they do. And fortunately for us, it's pumped to a, water treatment facility. We treat the water, and then it pumps to your house. So it's an important thing that you do.
Right. And, one of the things is again, I'll go back and compliment Lake Farmington. It's such a great blessing, not only for recreation and water storage, but water settlement. It's a fundamental thing that God did when he created lakes and whatever. It really gives us an element of clean water that we couldn't get any other way. Yeah. Just a giant settling basin, which is awesome.
Because it naturally cleans itself as it travels through the lake, right?
Yep.
I mean, the sun does its thing, and the sediment settles out. And we've just done a big winter, kind of our winter maintenance out there. People have commented a number of times to me about why the lake is so low.
Right.
We do this every year, but sometimes other years we do a little bit further. But the lake will be 100%.
It will be probably about May 1st. Today we started, or last night we started one of our other accesses, and we've got 2 pumps running now on the upper, and then we've got 2 sets running down at Penny Lane. So together you're going to see a rapid fill in the next 3 weeks.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yep.
But cleaning out those sediment basins, we got to drain the lake and down to a point in order to do that. And
to about 78, 77% full, and then which is, we get excited about that, but Navajo is down at 53%.
Is it really?
Yeah. So it's not that severe when you look at it in context of what other reservoirs in the region are at.
Well, and we look at what's happened right now during this winter has been very dry. Everybody knows. You look to the mountains, and a lot of concern there. I believe the Animas River Basin, which is where our water comes from, was in the 80% of average.
Right.
So
total precipitation about 85% of normal.
Yep. Winter before it was much higher. So it's just funny the way it just goes.
It makes you a little
like
nervous, but it's 85% of normal isn't awful. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't all be wise in the way we conserve our water, but it just means that with the beautiful blessing of having a nice little reservoir, we're greatly protected.
Oh, that's a good way to finish this segment, David. We're very thankful for Lake Farmington. Mr. Sypher, thanks for all you do, and thanks for joining us and sharing some insight on here. And again, I encourage people to make sure that they're checking out the website for the different projects and things that are happening around the neighborhood. Share this information on your social media feeds. This is good information to get out so folks know in their neighborhoods what's going to be happening. So, David Sypher was with us today with the City of Farmington Public Works. We appreciate your listenership, viewership. We hope you're checking us out all over the internet now through our different podcast opportunities and YouTube. Stay apprised of what's happening here in the City of Farmington. Make sure you check out farmingtonnn.org too for your community calendar for all the events that are going to be coming up this summer. It's going to be a very active summer here in the city. So thank you for all you do. God bless you, and we'll see you here next time on the Mayor's Table.